Black girl mocked for playing a rich kid's piano. What happens next? Silences. Everyone, don't touch what you can't afford. The words slice through the polished air of the grand foyer like glass against skin. For a split second, everything stilled. Conversations, footsteps, even the soft notes of a string quartet playing in the corner. All eyes turned toward the girl standing at the Steinway Model D concert grand, her fingers still hovering above the keys, her face stunned with a mix of shame and disbelief. Alana Brooks stood frozen, her posture stiff, like a statue caught mid-breath. The piano, glossy and enormous, seemed to mock her now with its elegance. She had just played two haunting phrases from Chopin's Ballade No. 1, just two, and already she was being dragged back to where the world thought she belonged, somewhere far from this place. Across from her stood Madison Langley, blonde, poised, and draped in designer silk. Madison, the daughter of Millstone Academy's largest benefactor, wasn't alone. Two other girls flanked her, Ava with the sneer and Skylar with the phone already tilted slightly, ready to record drama. Madison's words were sweetened with a saccharine smile as she tilted her head, speaking loud enough for the entire room to hear. I mean, it's cute you thought you could just sit and play like one of us. Really. Very Lifetime movie. Laughter followed, soft, privileged, cutting. Alana's breath hitched. Her hands dropped to her sides, fists tightening. From the back of the room, a man cleared his throat. Miss Langley, came the steady voice of Mr. Harris, a piano instructor at Millstone and one of the few faculty members with enough tenure to speak up against the untouchables. I invited Miss Brooks to play. Madison's expression didn't flinch, but her eyes turned cold. She's not a student here. No, he said, stepping forward, but she's a musician. And last I checked, the piano is meant for music, not ownership. Alana's mother, Camille Brooks, stepped through the doors just in time to see the frozen scene. She worked 2 jobs, nurse by day, night shift server at a diner on weekends, and had managed to change during her lunch break to attend this open house, still wearing the worn-out navy blue scrubs under a cardigan. Her eyes scanned the crowd until they locked with her daughter's. Alana took a step back from the piano, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't mean to cause anything. You didn't, Mr. Harris assured her. Then, louder to the rest of the room, why don't you all go back to enjoying the event? There's refreshments in the West Wing. The crowd dispersed slowly, whispers trailing behind. Some smirked, some shrugged. A few stayed to watch. As Mr. Harris approached Alana, Madison turned and walked away, but not before leaning in and murmuring, Let this be your reminder. You don't belong here. The door shut behind her like the punctuation of a cruel sentence. Alana blinked rapidly. I didn't even press the damn keys. I know, Mr. Harris said, lowering his voice, but you shook the room anyway. Camille reached her daughter's side and gently placed a hand on her back. You okay, baby? Alana nodded, but her lips were tight. I'm fine. They weren't. Not really. Earlier that day, Alana had stepped onto the grounds of Millstone Academy, with a brochure folded in her pocket and hope swelling in her chest. The academy was everything the brochures promised. Arched marble hallways, sunlit courtyards, students in perfectly fitted uniforms, and a piano lab that made her knees weak. Alana had grown up playing on a donated upright at the local community center, its keys yellowed with time, middle C perpetually sticky. But that had never mattered. She played with everything she had, because music was the one place where she felt both safe and free. Mr. Harris had been the one to notice her when he'd volunteered at a youth music camp last summer. He'd watched as Alana played Rachmaninoff by ear, sight-reading with the intensity of someone grasping a lifeline. That's when he extended the invite. Come to Millstone's open house, meet the faculty, see what could be possible. And now, after just resting her fingers on a piano, she'd been publicly humiliated. In the car on the way home, Camille gripped the wheel tight, jaw set. "She got no right talking to you like that." Alana stared out the window. "It's her world, Mom. I was trespassing." "No," Camille said. "She's just scared. Scared someone like you could show up and play better than all the kids with gold-plated lessons." "She's not wrong," Alana said quietly. "I don't belong there. I don't dress like them. I don't talk like them. I don't know all those composers they name-drop like celebrity gossip." "But you know the music," Camille said. "And you feel it. That counts." "Does it?" Alana turned, her voice cracking for the first time. "Because all they saw was a black girl putting her hands where they didn't think they belonged." Camille exhaled. "You're not gonna let one little princess knock you off your path, are you?" Alana didn't answer. That night, after dinner, she sat down at the old upright again. She didn't even turn on the light. The keys glowed faintly in the moonlight, spilling through the cracked blinds. Her fingers hovered, then fell into motion. This time, she didn't play Chopin. She played something new, something hers. Raw, imperfect, alive. The next day, a brown envelope arrived at their apartment. The return address read Millstone Academy. Alana opened it cautiously. Inside was a single sheet. "Dear Miss Brooks, following yesterday's open house and upon recommendation by Mr. Harris, we would like to invite you to a private audition to assess your eligibility for the spring admissions round. Please prepare 2 contrasting pieces. Sincerely, Dean Eleanor Holloway." Beneath the text, in ink barely legible, someone had scribbled a handwritten note. "Come prove them wrong. Let the piano speak for you. Harris." Alana stared at the letter for a long time. She folded it slowly and placed it on her nightstand. Then she turned back to the piano, adjusted the rickety bench, and started to practice. But this time she wasn't playing for herself. She was playing to silence everyone. The audition wasn't just an invitation. It was a dare. Alana knew it the moment she stepped into Millstone's East Wing 2 weeks later, her heart pounding harder than any metronome could match. She wore her best outfit, a neatly ironed blouse and a second-hand navy skirt that hugged just above her knees, and carried a small stack of sheet music in a recycled folder. Her fingers kept curling and uncurling at her sides, itching with nerves and something else. Resolve. Madison was there. Of course she was. Leaning casually against a marble pillar near the entrance to the music hall, she spotted Alana and gave a crooked smile, more smirk than anything else. "Back again?" Madison asked. "You're brave, or forgetful." Alana didn't stop walking. "Let's see if bravery sounds better than bitterness." She heard a sharp breath behind her. Madison stunned just long enough not to respond. The first win of the day. Inside, the performance hall looked emptier than before, but no less intimidating. The Steinway Concert Grand stood under a muted spotlight, just off-center on stage, waiting, almost daring her to come closer. "Miss Brooks," Dean Holloway greeted from the edge of the auditorium. She was an older woman with a low, strong voice and silver hair pulled into a single braid. "Mr. Harris speaks very highly of you. We're eager to hear you play." Seated beside her was Dr. Evan Cole, head of performance studies. He didn't offer a greeting, just studied Alana over the rims of his glasses like she was already being graded. "Yes, ma'am," Alana said quietly, clutching her folder tighter. "Take a moment to settle yourself," Dean Holloway said. "When you're ready, you may begin." The moment Alana sat down at the piano, the outside world blurred. Her fingertips touched the keys with reverence, but her mind was already diving into the first piece, Debussy's Clair de Lune. Simple enough to sound graceful, hard enough to require absolute control. She'd practiced it endlessly these past 2 weeks, often falling asleep at the upright at home, her neck sore, her fingers raw. The first few notes floated into the room like mist over a lake. As she played, her shoulders relaxed. The keys responded like magic beneath her fingers. And even Dr. Cole, the stone-faced judge, blinked slowly, his head tilting slightly as the music unfurled. When she finished, there was a pause. "Interesting interpretation," Dr. Cole finally said. "You play with instinct, perhaps too much." Alana's jaw tightened, but she held back the reply she wanted to throw back at him. "Let's move to the second piece," Dean Holloway said. "What have you prepared?" "Chopin," Alana said, standing to pull the sheet music from her folder. "Ballade in G minor. But I'd like to play it by memory." "You memorized it?" Dr. Cole's tone carried more skepticism than interest. Alana nodded. "Yes, sir." She sat again, centering herself. The moment her fingers touched the opening chord, everything else faded. This wasn't just performance anymore. It was protest, statement, defiance in 6/8 time. When the room went silent again after the final chord, it wasn't out of confusion. It was awe. Dean Holloway leaned back slightly, eyes narrowed, not in suspicion but in analysis. She turned to Dr. Cole. "Well," he adjusted his glasses, "unrefined in spots. But the musicality, that's not something we can teach." Alana didn't wait for more. She stood, quietly nodding in thanks, but her palms were sweaty and her breathing uneven. She couldn't read their expressions clearly, and doubt crept in as she stepped off stage. She didn't realize someone had entered the back of the auditorium until she turned the corner into the hallway. Madison stood there, arms folded, but this time without her usual entourage. "I heard Chopin," she said flatly. Alana stared at her. "You spying now?" Madison raised an eyebrow. "Just making sure they're not wasting time on a pity audition." Alana gave a small smile. "You're right to be worried." Madison's face barely flickered. "We'll see how long that smug confidence lasts. You'll need more than one emotional piece to survive here." "I've got more than one," Alana replied, walking past her. As she reached the building's side door, she heard her name. "Miss Brooks." It was Dean Holloway, walking briskly in heels that echoed through the tiled hall. Alana turned, surprised. "We'll be in touch within the next 48 hours, she said, then paused. "But between us, you've got something most of our students don't." "What's that?" Alana asked. Dean Holloway smiled faintly. "Something to prove." That night, back in their modest apartment, Alana sat cross-legged on her bed, phone in hand, eyes glued to her email. Each vibration made her jump. At 11:47 p.m., the message came. Subject: Millstone Academy audition results. She clicked. "Dear Ms. Brooks, on behalf of the admissions committee and faculty, we are pleased to offer you a mid-year transfer scholarship to Millstone Academy of Music." The rest of the text blurred. Her vision went watery. Her mom burst through the door moments later, holding 2 celebratory milkshakes from the 24-hour diner down the street. "I saw the way you ran down the hallway," Camille grinned. "That good, huh?" Alana held up the phone with shaking hands. Camille sat on the bed, pulling her into a tight hug. "You did it," she whispered. "You really did it." Alana didn't say anything at first. She was thinking about the piano, about Madison's face, about the moment that had silenced an entire room. She had a place now. But this wasn't the end of the fight. It was only the beginning. Because proving she belonged at Millstone wasn't the goal anymore. It was proving she could change it. Alana arrived at Millstone Academy 3 days after receiving her acceptance letter. Her mom had driven her up in their aging Ford Focus, its air conditioner wheezing under the pressure of a southern spring that already felt like summer. As the campus came into view, towering columns, glass-paneled buildings, perfectly trimmed hedges, Alana's heart pounded, her hand gripping the worn strap of her keyboard bag so tightly her knuckles turned pale. She tried to focus on the present, not the moment she was mocked, not the stares she knew would come. Just step one, walk through the doors like she belonged. A student ambassador named Ethan met her at the administrative building. "Hey, you must be Alana Brooks. I'm Ethan. They've got me showing you around before your placement meeting." He was tall and wiry with shaggy brown curls and a calm energy that helped ease her nerves. "Thanks," she said. "Appreciate it." "You're all anyone talked about last week," he said with a knowing smile. "Word spreads fast around here, especially when someone new steals the spotlight with a Chopin piece." Alana's face flushed. "I didn't steal anything." "No, but you earned something," he said. "Most kids get in here with years of prep schools and private lessons. You walked in, sat at the piano, and shut everybody up. I respect that." They passed by a group of students lounging on benches under a willow tree. Several turned to look. A few whispered. One of them was Madison. Of course. She wore her uniform like it was tailored couture and gave Alana a look that wasn't quite a sneer, but close. Madison leaned toward a friend and said something, not bothering to lower her voice. "I give it 2 weeks before she realizes she's out of her depth." Alana didn't flinch, didn't even look back. But Ethan noticed. "Ignore it," he said. "Some people mistake pedigree for talent." Inside the main building, Dean Holloway's assistant ushered Alana into a private room with a glossy, upright piano, a small desk, and stacks of sheet music on every shelf. Dr. Cole sat at the piano, already flipping through a folder. "We'll be testing you on technique, sight reading, and theory. Placement isn't just about skill, it's about where you'll grow," he said, not looking up. Alana nodded, nerves returning like a wave crashing into her chest. The placement test was brutal. Scales, arpeggios, improvisation. He gave her a Bach fugue she'd never seen before. Her sight reading was rusty, and she stumbled in the middle. He raised an eyebrow but said nothing. When it came time to improvise a melody, he gave her a motif. She closed her eyes and imagined it sung by a cello, then layered her response on the keys, weaving in blues, phrasing, and gospel chords from her roots. When she finished, he sat in silence for a long moment. "You have a strange ear," he said finally. "Untrained, but sensitive." "Thanks," she said. "That wasn't a compliment," he replied flatly. But it wasn't an insult either. Alana left the room feeling like she'd run a marathon barefoot. Outside, Ethan handed her a schedule and a freshly printed ID card. "Looks like you're in advanced performance, chamber ensemble, and composition studies," he said, whistling. "That's a heavy load for a transfer." "I asked for it," she replied. The first few days passed in a blur. The hallways buzzed with tension, and every classroom felt like an audition. Most students kept their distance. Some whispered behind her back. A few tested her with subtle jabs in class. On Wednesday, during chamber ensemble, she was paired with Madison. The room fell silent when the instructor announced it. Alana stood still for a beat, then walked toward the bench, sitting beside her. Madison didn't speak, didn't look at her, just pulled out the score and began marking notes. "You're the lead," Alana said. "I'll follow." "I don't need you to follow," Madison said coldly. "I need you to stay out of the way." Alana met her eyes. "That's not how chamber music works." "It is when I'm in it." The teacher clapped his hands. "Let's hear the first movement." Madison counted them in. They played. The sound was wrong. Madison's technique was flawless. But she rushed certain passages, ignoring Alana's dynamics, barely glancing at her cues. Alana adjusted, adapted, trying to bridge the gap between them, but by the final bar it was clear. This wasn't music. It was war. When the teacher stopped them, he didn't hide his frustration. You're both talented, but you're playing like enemies, not collaborators. No one spoke. You'll perform this duet in front of the faculty next Friday. If it doesn't improve, I'll switch partners, and both of you will lose solo privileges for the semester. Alana didn't look at Madison, but she felt the girl's fury radiating beside her, like heat from an oven. That night, Alana practiced long after the dorm lights went out. She replayed every note of that duet, marking where she'd hesitated, where Madison had overpowered. Her fingers ached, but she didn't stop. Because if Madison wanted a war, fine. But Alana wasn't coming to survive. She was coming to win. The night before the duet performance, Alana sat alone in practice room 9, the same room that had once felt like a battleground. Now it was her sanctuary. Her fingers hovered above the keys, her mind racing with rehearsed runs and uncertain expectations. She could hear echoes of Bach and Debussy in the halls, each practice session from other students reminding her of the stakes. A knock came. Sharp, precise. She turned to see Madison in the doorway, arms crossed, clutching her annotated sheet music. "You're late," Madison said. Alana checked the clock. "We didn't schedule anything tonight." "We didn't have to. You know we need more time." Alana didn't argue. She scooted over on the bench. Madison sat beside her, silent for a moment. Then she pulled out a mechanical pencil and marked another note on her copy. "We're falling apart in the second movement," Madison said. "Your phrasing's too elastic. You need to anchor your tempo tighter, or we'll drag. It drags because you keep rushing the theme before it's resolved." Madison turned sharply. "I'm following the original tempo markings." "I'm following the emotion," Alana replied, her voice calm but firm. "This piece was written during one of Schubert's darkest periods. It's not just notes. It's grief. Longing. You can't just count it and expect it to feel real." Madison scoffed, but something flickered in her eyes. Doubt, maybe, or realization. "You sound like one of those people who cry at commercials." "I cry when something's worth crying about," Alana said. "That includes music." Madison fell silent. They started again. The first movement moved smoothly, but the second, still clunky. A crescendo misaligned, a transition clashed, again and again. The tension was thick, frustration building between them like static electricity. On the fourth attempt, Madison stopped cold halfway through. "You're impossible to synchronize with." "No, I'm just not afraid to feel the music," Alana snapped. "That's your problem. You're terrified of anyone seeing your heart through the keys." Madison stood up. "You think you know me? You think because you grew up with nothing that gives you some kind of moral authority? I've been breaking my back for this school since I was 8. Competitions, summer programs, practicing 6 hours a day while you, watched YouTube and played on a beat-up keyboard." Alana stood too. "Yeah, I did, on a keyboard with half the keys sticking, and I still got here. I played one piece and the room stopped breathing. You think that's luck?" Madison opened her mouth, then closed it. Her chest rose and fell quickly, as if she were trying to steady herself. "You think this is easy for me?" she asked, softer now. "I have a father who donated a recital hall and still reminds me every week how I'm expected to earn my place. Do you know what it's like to be told you're special but never enough?" Alana blinked. That wasn't the Madison she'd expected to meet tonight. "You hide it well," she said. "I have to," Madison murmured. Then, after a long pause, "Maybe I did rush the second movement." Alana managed a half-smile. "Maybe I could tighten my left-hand phrasing, too." A beat passed, then Madison extended her hand. "Again?" Alana nodded. They sat. This time it worked. Something in the air shifted. Their hands moved as if sharing breath, not competing. The tempo still stretched, but together now. The harmony, once jagged, melted into itself. The energy in the room was no longer tense, but electric. When the final note faded, they didn't speak. Both girls stared at the keys, breathing in silence. Madison exhaled. If we can do that tomorrow, we might actually blow them away. Alana smiled slightly. We won't just blow them away. We'll make them feel something. Madison nodded once, her walls momentarily lowered. As Alana left the room that night, she passed Dr. Cole standing in the hallway, arms folded, expression unreadable. "You stayed late," he said. "Couldn't leave until it was right." He tilted his head. "Some students perform well because they practice. Some perform well because they feel. You might be one of the rare ones who can do both." Alana didn't respond, but she walked a little taller as she stepped into the corridor's fading light. Tomorrow everything would change, and this time they'd be listening. The auditorium was packed. Parents, donors, faculty, and even a few reporters from local arts publications filled the velvet seats. The winter showcase at Fairchild Conservatory wasn't just a recital, it was a proving ground. For some, it meant a scholarship. For others, a reputation. But for Alana Brooks, it meant everything. Backstage, Alana stared at her reflection in the long mirror. Her black dress fit simply but elegantly, borrowed from her music teacher's daughter. Her curls had been pulled back into a soft twist by her mom that morning, hands trembling with nervous pride. Alana adjusted the tiny silver bracelet her brother Marcus had saved up to buy for her birthday. A good luck charm, he called it. Beside her, Madison tugged on her gown, tapping her foot like a metronome. "You okay?" Alana asked. Madison didn't answer right away. "Just trying not to think about my father." Alana blinked. "He's here." Madison nodded, eyes fixed on the stage door. "Second row. He hasn't been to one of my recitals since 8th grade. And now he's here." With the dean of Juilliard, Alana felt her pulse skip. "That's a lot." "Yeah." Madison turned to her, forcing a small smile. "Let's make it worth their time." The showcase unfolded act by act, a violin solo with flawless intonation but no soul, a jazz trio that tried a little too hard. Then came a harpist whose shimmering glissandos left the crowd in reverent awe. Backstage, Dr. Cole found the girls in the wings. "You're up after the cello duet. 5 minutes." They both nodded, tension tightening every muscle in Alana's back. "You've come a long way," he said, looking at them both. "Don't let anyone define what you can or can't do tonight. You belong on that stage." As he walked away, Madison turned to Alana. "Let's burn this place down." Alana grinned. With grace, of course. They stepped out as the announcer introduced them. "Please welcome Madison Clark and Alana Brooks, performing Schubert's Fantasia in F minor for 4 hands." A scattering of polite applause, curious glances. Alana caught her mom in the 3rd row, seated next to Marcus and Ms. Rivera, her former community center music mentor. Her mother wiped at her eyes before Alana even touched the keys. She sat stage right. Madison took stage left. Their knees almost touched on the narrow bench. The lights dimmed. Silence fell. Alana inhaled and placed her hands on the keys. The opening chords floated out, soft and ghostly. Madison joined in, precise and cool. Their fingers passed over and under each other like dancers in perfect coordination. The audience leaned in, sensing something unusual. In the second movement, something happened. The tempo quickened, tension built. Madison's technical mastery grounded the performance, but it was Alana's interpretation that twisted every note into something aching and raw. It was no longer just a composition. It was a story about division and unity, fear and bravery, privilege and perseverance. Then, during the recapitulation, it happened. A sudden shift. The lights flickered, just a second, barely noticeable. But in that instant, Alana lost her place. Her fingers stalled on a suspended cord. A collective breath held. Madison didn't miss a beat. She pivoted into the next phrase solo, giving Alana half a measure to recover. Alana re-entered, not flustered, but furious. The mistake sparked something wild in her. From that moment on, she played not with caution, but fire. They finished the final movement in a crescendo of swelling emotion. Their final note rang like a bell in the still auditorium. Silence, a beat, then another, then applause, thunderous, rising, an ovation. Alana and Madison stood and bowed. Alana caught sight of Daisy Wellington, arms folded in the back row, expression unreadable. Madison's father didn't clap at first, but the dean of Juilliard beside him did. Eventually, he joined. As the curtain fell, they walked off stage, breathless. "I can't believe I froze," Alana muttered. "You snapped back harder than anyone I've ever seen," Madison said. "That wasn't a mistake. That was a moment." Dr. Cole appeared in the wings, face split into a rare grin. "Whatever that was, it wasn't just a performance. It was a statement." But the moment's peace was short-lived. From behind them, a voice broke through. "I think there's something you two need to see." It was Ms. Rivera holding up her phone. A video had already been uploaded to a local music blog's social media, captioned, "Self-taught prodigy Alana Brooks and heiress Madison Clark redefine Schubert." 15,000 views in under an hour, and rising. Alana blinked. "How is that even possible?" "Because you didn't just play music," Miss Rivera said. "You told a story, and people are finally listening." Madison leaned over to glance at the video. "Do you see that comment?" Alana read it aloud. "I came here for piano. I stayed for the power. I cried, and I don't even know classical music." For the first time, she let herself smile. Not a polite smile, not a thank you smile, but the real kind. Tomorrow, the world might go back to questioning whether she belonged. But tonight, she'd already answered. The auditorium was packed. Parents, donors, faculty, and even a few reporters from local arts publications filled the velvet seats. The winter showcase at Fairchild Conservatory wasn't just a recital, it was a proving ground. For some, it meant a scholarship. For others, a reputation. But for Alana Brooks, it meant everything. Backstage, Alana stared at her reflection in the long mirror. Her black dress fit simply but elegantly, borrowed from her music teacher's daughter. Her curls had been pulled back into a soft twist by her mom that morning, hands trembling with nervous pride. Alana adjusted the tiny silver bracelet her brother Marcus had saved up to buy for her birthday. A good luck charm, he called it. Beside her, Madison tugged on her gown, tapping her foot like a metronome. "You okay?" Alana asked. Madison didn't answer right away. "Just trying not to think about my father." Alana blinked. "He's here?" Madison nodded, eyes fixed on the stage door. "Second row. He hasn't been to one of my recitals since 8th grade, and now he's here." With the dean of Juilliard, Alana felt her pulse skip. "That's a lot." "Yeah." Madison turned to her, forcing a small smile. "Let's make it worth their time." The showcase unfolded act by act, a violin solo with flawless intonation but no soul, a jazz trio that tried a little too hard. Then came a harpist whose shimmering glissandos left the crowd in reverent awe. Backstage, Dr. Cole found the girls in the wings. "You're up after the cello duet. 5 minutes." They both nodded, tension tightening every muscle in Alana's back. "You've come a long way," he said, looking at them both. "Don't let anyone define what you can or can't do tonight. You belong on that stage." As he walked away, Madison turned to Alana. "Let's burn this place down." Alana grinned. With grace, of course. They stepped out as the announcer introduced them. "Please welcome Madison Clark and Alana Brooks, performing Schubert's Fantasia in F minor for 4 hands." A scattering of polite applause, curious glances. Alana caught her mom in the 3rd row, seated next to Marcus and Ms. Rivera, her former community center music mentor. Her mother wiped at her eyes before Alana even touched the keys. She sat stage right. Madison took stage left. Their knees almost touched on the narrow bench. The lights dimmed. Silence fell. Alana inhaled and placed her hands on the keys. The opening chords floated out, soft and ghostly. Madison joined in, precise and cool. Their fingers passed over and under each other like dancers in perfect coordination. The audience leaned in, sensing something unusual. In the second movement, something happened. The tempo quickened, tension built. Madison's technical mastery grounded the performance, but it was Alana's interpretation that twisted every note into something aching and raw. It was no longer just a composition. It was a story about division and unity, fear and bravery, privilege and perseverance. Then, during the recapitulation, it happened. A sudden shift. The lights flickered, just a second, barely noticeable. But in that instant, Alana lost her place. Her fingers stalled on a suspended cord, a collective breath held. Madison didn't miss a beat. She pivoted into the next phrase solo, giving Alana half a measure to recover. Alana re-entered, not flustered, but furious. The mistake sparked something wild in her. From that moment on, she played not with caution, but fire. They finished the final movement in a crescendo of swelling emotion. Their final note rang like a bell in the still auditorium. Silence, a beat, then another, then applause, thunderous, rising, an ovation. Alana and Madison stood and bowed. Alana caught sight of Daisy Wellington, arms folded in the back row, expression unreadable. Madison's father didn't clap at first, but the dean of Juilliard beside him did. Eventually, he joined. As the curtain fell, they walked off stage, breathless. "I can't believe I froze," Alana muttered. "You snapped back harder than anyone I've ever seen," Madison said. "That wasn't a mistake, that was a moment." Dr. Cole appeared in the wings, face split into a rare grin. Whatever that was, it wasn't just a performance, it was a statement. But the moment's peace was short-lived. From behind them, a voice broke through. "I think there's something you two need to see." It was Ms. Rivera, holding up her phone. A video had already been uploaded to a local music blog's social media, captioned, "Self-taught prodigy Alana Brooks and heiress Madison Clark redefine Schubert." 15,000 views in under an hour. And rising. Alana blinked. "How is that even possible?" "Because you didn't just play music," Miss Rivera said. "You told a story, and people are finally listening." Madison leaned over to glance at the video. "Do you see that comment?" Alana read it aloud. "I came here for piano. I stayed for the power. I cried, and I don't even know classical music." For the first time, she let herself smile. Not a polite smile, not a thank you smile, but the real kind. Tomorrow the world might go back to questioning whether she belonged. But tonight, she'd already answered. By the next morning, the performance had gone viral. Alana woke to over 100 messages. Her inbox was flooded with notifications, her social media tagged in dozens of posts from music blogs, students, and even a few small-time influencers. The video of her and Madison's performance had climbed past 150,000 views overnight. Headlines ranged from the community center to the conservatory stage, to Fairchild's winter showcase ends with an unexpected ovation. At first, Alana was overwhelmed. Then she saw the comments. Some were celebratory, others not so much. She's talented, sure, but she'll never survive at Juilliard. Charity case with one good performance. She's not Westfield material, let alone Fairchild. But buried in the noise were words that stuck to her soul. She plays like she's lived it. Moved me to tears. Reminds me why I fell in love with classical music in the first place. Alana sat in the living room, legs curled under her, her mom sipping coffee at the kitchen counter nearby. The morning light streamed through their tiny apartment's window. "You good?" her mom asked, not even looking up from the mug. "You've been staring at that phone for 20 minutes. "I think I broke the internet," Alana said quietly. Her mom looked up. "You broke something all right. Broke right through those walls they tried to keep you out of." A smile crept onto Alana's face. "There's a comment thread debating whether I'm a once-in-a-generation prodigy or a fluke." "Well," her mom said, setting the mug down and walking over. "Only one way to answer that." Back at Fairchild, Alana wasn't met with instant celebration. There were stares, whispers, a few nods of respect from faculty, but also side eyes from other students who weren't thrilled to be upstaged by someone they hadn't seen coming. Daisy was waiting by the lockers. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Black trench coat, sunglasses, hair in a sleek ponytail. "You've got fans now," she said, arms crossed. Alana closed her locker slowly. "I'm not looking for fans," Daisy smirked. "Good, because you've got critics, too." Alana met her gaze evenly. "They're just mad the piano didn't ask about my zip code." Daisy's expression flickered, then sharpened. "You think one performance makes you untouchable?" "No," Alana said calmly, "but it proved I'm not invisible." Daisy took a step closer, her voice lower now. "You really think you belong here, with everything you've missed? The theory gaps, your technique. I'm catching up fast. You're catching up because they're bending over backwards to help you. That duet should have been mine." "Solo." "It wasn't, and you know why." Daisy's jaw tightened. But instead of more insults, she turned and walked away. Madison appeared from around the corner, catching the end of it. "That girl's got a PhD in passive aggression." "She's not wrong about the theory stuff," Alana admitted. "I'm behind," Madison shrugged. "So, I'll tutor you." "You will?" "You carried the emotion. I can carry the analysis." That afternoon, the head of Fairchild's piano department, Dr. Sebastian Green, summoned Alana to his office. The room smelled faintly of varnish and old books. Diplomas lined the wall next to pictures of Green with famous concert pianists. He gestured to a leather chair. "Alana," he began, fingers steepled, "I've been reviewing your file." Here it comes, she thought. "You're self-taught. No formal theory background. Unorthodox technique. Frankly, under other circumstances, your application wouldn't have made it past the first round." Alana nodded, heart sinking. "But talent," he said slowly, "isn't bound by protocol." She looked up, unsure where this was going. "Your performance was more than technically impressive. It had soul. It moved people. That cannot be taught, but it must be trained." He stood and walked to a filing cabinet, pulled out a folder. "We'd like to offer you a provisional acceptance into the conservatory's early college program. It comes with one condition: intensive supplemental theory and technique work, weekly evaluations." Alana blinked. "Wait, you're serious?" "I don't extend second chances lightly," he said. "But something about you reminds me of a student I once had. She didn't fit the mold either. Now she plays with the Chicago Symphony." Tears stung her eyes. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," he said, handing her the paperwork. "This program will test every part of you." Alana took the folder with trembling fingers. "I'm ready." Green nodded. "We'll see." Later that evening, she returned to the community center. The upright piano still sat in the corner, paint-chipped, one leg propped up with an old textbook. But it was where everything began. She sat down, ran her fingers over the familiar keys, and started to play. Not for a showcase, not for a scholarship, just for herself. As the melody filled the room, a quiet knock interrupted her. Ms. Rivera stood in the doorway, arms crossed, a proud smile on her face. "Even now," she said, "you still come back. I'll never forget where I started." Ms. Rivera walked in, sat beside her. "And you're not done yet. They think that showcase was your story's peak, but it was only your prologue." Alana turned to her mentor. "Then I'd better make the rest even louder." It started with a single email. Subject line: Inquiry regarding allegations of preferential treatment at Fairchild. Alana was in the practice room working through her sight-reading exercises when Madison burst in with her phone in hand, her face tight with concern. "You've seen this?" she asked. Alana looked up, fingers still resting on the keys. "Seen what?" Madison handed over her phone. On the screen was a forwarded message from one of the students' group chats, now blowing up with screenshots. It was an anonymous blog post published by a site known for gossip and insider drama in elite prep schools and conservatories. The headline read, "Fairchild's diversity push or just a PR stunt?" inside the fast-tracked admission of Alana Hughes. The article accused Fairchild of bending rules to admit a student with no formal background, alleging that she was brought in to tick a box for optics after public criticism about the academy's lack of diversity. It listed her unconventional entry, hinted at favoritism from faculty, and even quoted an unnamed source claiming her duet performance had been orchestrated to manufacture buzz. Alana read the piece in silence. Her mouth was dry, her vision blurred at the edges. "This is insane," she whispered. "I know," Madison said, "but people are eating it up. There's a thread already with over 100 comments." "What are they saying?" "You don't want to read them," Madison said, placing a hand on Alana's arm. "Most of it's trash. Some are defending you, but—" Alana looked away, her throat tightening. She had fought so hard to be seen as more than just a story, and now that she was finally being heard, someone was trying to turn her into a scandal. "Do you think it was Daisy?" she asked, the question heavy. Madison hesitated. "She's definitely been icy since the performance, but no one knows. It could be any jealous student or parent." Alana leaned back against the wall, staring at the ceiling. "I worked for this," she said softly. "I didn't ask them to let me in. I didn't ask to be a headline." "No one who actually matters thinks you're a fluke," Madison said. "But what if it spreads? What if it gets to my mom's work? What if people in the industry start to believe it?" "Then we shut it down," Madison said firmly. Later that day, Alana was called into a meeting with Dr. Green and Mrs. Kellerman from administration. "We're aware of the article," Mrs. Kellerman said, folding her hands. "We're currently investigating the source." Dr. Green looked directly at Alana. "You need to know we stand by our decision to accept you. This article is inflammatory and based on speculation. But the optics—" Alana didn't wait for him to finish. "I didn't ask for special treatment," she said, voice shaking. "I've worked harder than anyone to catch up. I didn't get in because of politics. I got in because I didn't give up." "I believe you, Doctor," Green said. "But this has put the school in a precarious position." "You mean it's embarrassing for you?" Alana snapped. "Because people are questioning how someone like me got here." Dr. Green's jaw tightened. "Alana, no one is questioning your talent, but they're questioning my right to be here." The room fell silent. Mrs. Kellerman broke it, her tone professional. "We're preparing a statement. If you'd like to contribute, we'll include your words." "No," Alana said. "I'll write my own." She left the office with fire in her chest. That night, instead of burying herself in practice, Alana opened her laptop and wrote an open letter. She didn't ask for sympathy. She didn't attack anyone by name. She simply told her story, how she learned to play by ear, how she spent years practicing on a busted keyboard, how she had never stepped foot in a music hall until Fairchild. She wrote, "I'm not here to make you feel comfortable. I'm here because I belong. Not because someone opened a side door, but because I kicked the front door until they heard me." She clicked publish. By morning, the letter had been shared across social media, music forums, and even featured on a classical education blog. Her inbox filled again, this time with messages from other young musicians, many from underrepresented backgrounds, saying her story gave them hope. "I didn't think someone like me could make it either," one message read. "Until now." At Fairchild, the mood shifted. Some students still whispered. Some still rolled their eyes. But the silence when Alana walked into the room wasn't loaded with judgment anymore. It was filled with attention. Respect. Even Daisy, whose name had quietly floated in some of the rumor threads, kept her distance. One afternoon, they crossed paths outside the practice rooms. Daisy paused, then said with clipped civility, "That was a brave letter." Alana looked her in the eye. It wasn't brave. It was necessary. For the winter gala, Fairchild announced a solo performance by Alana Hughes. No duet. No shared spotlight. It would be her moment, and hers alone. In the weeks that followed, Alana practiced harder than she ever had. She pushed herself through scales, studied theory with Madison, and let Dr. Green challenge her with brutally honest feedback. "You've got the story," he said one afternoon. "Now, earn the legacy." On the eve of the gala, Ms. Rivera visited campus. She stood in the back of the rehearsal hall, arms crossed, eyes shimmering with pride, as Alana ran through the piece. "You've grown," she said when the music stopped. Alana wiped sweat from her brow. "Still got a long way to go." "You're not at the end," Ms. Rivera replied. "But girl, you've arrived." And for the first time in a long while, Alana believed it too. The lights in the concert hall dimmed to a low hum, and a hush fell over the audience like a velvet curtain. Alana stood just off stage, her heart beating in her ears. She peeked past the side curtain. The seats were full, Fairchild students, faculty, donors, even local press. Somewhere near the front she spotted her mother, dressed in her best blouse, eyes shining with pride. The same stage that once seemed like a dream now waited quietly for her return. This time there would be no duet, no controversy, no headlines trying to explain her presence. This time, the music would speak for itself. Backstage, Dr. Green adjusted his tie, then leaned toward her. "Whatever happens out there tonight," he said, "know that you've already changed things." Alana nodded, barely able to respond. Her fingers tingled, not from nerves, but anticipation. Mrs. Kellerman stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the final performance of the evening. Please welcome Fairchild's newest soloist, Alana Hughes." A soft ripple of applause rose, respectful, curious, hopeful. Alana walked onto the stage slowly, her shoes clicking against the polished floor. She kept her head high. The grand piano gleamed beneath the spotlight, and for a moment it felt like greeting an old friend. She sat, adjusted the bench, and rested her hands on the keys. Then she closed her eyes, and she played. The opening notes of Ravel's Pavane for a Dead Princess floated into the hall, delicate, haunting, deliberate. Her fingers moved with the ease of someone who didn't just know the music, but had lived it. This wasn't a piece to impress. It was one to feel, one that told a story of loss and memory, but also grace. As she played, her world narrowed to the space between her fingertips and the ivory. There were no whispers, no online gossip, no staring eyes trying to decide if she was good enough. There was only melody, breath, emotion. The phrasing was fluid, the dynamics nuanced. Each note felt hand-carved. It wasn't flawless, but it was real. At the end of the piece, as the last chord faded into silence, Alana let her hands linger on the keys. She opened her eyes, and the hall was still. No rustling, no movement, just silence, deep, reverent. Then the clapping began, slow at first, then growing, rising. Applause that came not from obligation, but recognition. She stood, nodded her thanks, and walked off stage into a wall of emotion. Dr. Green was there first, eyes bright. "You didn't just silence the room," he said. "You made them listen." In the lobby afterwards, students and parents approached her. Some hesitated, unsure of what to say. Others didn't hide their admiration. "You made me cry," one girl whispered, hugging her playbill. Daisy stood near the refreshments table, arms crossed. When their eyes met, Daisy walked over slowly. "Ravel," she said, her tone neutral. "Unexpected choice." "It felt right," Alana replied. Daisy nodded. "You played it well." Alana didn't expect more, but then Daisy added, "There's a lot I've had handed to me. You fought for it. I don't like how you got here, but I respect what you did with it." Alana gave her a small smile. "Maybe next time we play together we both learn something." Daisy tilted her head. "Maybe." Later that night, Alana and her mom walked out under the cold stars, the street lamps casting soft shadows on the academy's ivy-covered walls. "I'm proud of you," her mom said, "not just for tonight, for how you carried yourself." Alana exhaled, finally letting her body relax. "I just wanted to prove that I belonged." "You didn't prove it," her mom said. "You embodied it." They reached their car, an old Civic that sputtered on cold starts, but had never missed a ride. Alana glanced back at the grand building. Once it had felt like a palace built for someone else. Now it felt like home. As they drove away, Alana turned to the window. There were still challenges ahead, more competitions, more whispers, more moments where she'd have to remind the world that passion matters more than privilege. But tonight, she had shifted something, not just in others, but in herself. She belonged, and the music had always known it. Dear friend, if you've made it this far, thank you. Alana's journey isn't just fiction. It reflects the experiences of so many people who are underestimated, dismissed, or silenced before they ever get the chance to speak. This story reminds us that talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't. That kindness and courage are just as powerful as precision and privilege. And that sometimes one girl sitting at one piano can change everything. If this story moved you, please support this channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing it with someone who might need a reminder of their worth. Together we can keep telling stories that break the silence and uplift every voice.